You ready? Oh, now we've got the official record notification. Continue. Are we live? Yep. Thanks everyone. Good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. My name is Frederic. I'm very happy to host, I believe, the first Australian hybrid tug. So we've got we're meeting in person in Brisbane, and I believe we've got a few people online. So welcome everyone. So we've got a few people online that would be quite interesting. So we're also recording the session. So for people online, if you're concerned with privacy, don't turn your camera on, don't mute yourself because it's recorded. During the presentations, we're going to allow you to ask questions as well. So we got Kyle online and Caroline. So if you're a bit shy, you can post your question on the chat, but otherwise you can turn your microphone on and talk, and you turn your camera as well, so we can get to know you. I'll be also keen to find out where you're from online, virtual friends. So maybe just in the chat, put the city you're from, and maybe Kyle can just have a bit of a debrief and tell us where people are coming from, whether it's Australia or APAC or anywhere in the world. And obviously for people in the room, if you've got questions, we've got a roving mic somewhere, so we want to make sure our online friend can hear the questions. So if you've got burning questions for the presentations, make sure you grab the microphone from Kyle and ask the question in the microphone so it's nice and clear. And obviously for people in Brisbane, enjoy the pizza and the food that Kidada provided. I think that's so awesome. As you can see on the screen, we're always looking for volunteers to talk. So we got 3 amazing speakers today, but if you love talking about Tableau, your experience, your project you worked on, click on the barcode scanner on the left-hand side. And we'd love you to have talking our next talk. So we usually meet every couple of months, 3 months. So click on the link or scan the barcode with your camera. You can also join us on LinkedIn, as you can see. Before we start the proceedings, I would like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land where we meet today and pay my respect to their elders, past, present, and emerging. I also extend the respect to Aboriginal, Torres Strait Islander, and First Nation people online today. Just a couple of links as well that's useful. Aaron Viz, that's a big event that's happening right now for Tableau. I hope many of you are participating. I hope you know what it is. It's like one of the biggest data competition challenges. The theme this time is joy. So you can basically design any kind of Tableau dashboard using the theme joy, social data, and then have fun. I think there's quite a few prizes to be won, which I think is quite good. The next thing I also want to plug will be the very first Australian-New Zealand combined Tableau user group happening early August. So same thing, you can scan the barcode and register. So we're going to have the Fery twins from the US as guest speakers, and also 3 local speakers. So that should be an awesome event. Obviously, this one will be a virtual event. So for today's the agenda, and Dave, you can have a come and chat if you want. But so we're going to have Christian Martinez from Heinz talking about his experience. I might just change the format a little bit. I was thinking doing a quiz, but I might do that at the end if we've got time. Then we'll have Kelly Harrison, and then the next speaker will be Wilter Grobler. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to Christian. So Christian, you want to take the microphone, and then you've got 15 minutes to present your talk.
Great, thank you. Hi, how are you? So my name is Christian Martinez, and I'm here to speak about basically about how to unlock efficiencies through Tableau and data analytics, especially in FMCG industry. So the agenda for today, at first we'll be talking about why should we use data analytics in FMCG. Then a little bit about storytelling with data. Then we're going to talk about how do we use data analytics in Kraft. And especially I will be talking about 2 use cases. So the first one will be making data more accessible. And the second one, it will be like educating our people on data analytics. At the end, I'll share with you some resources and some time for questions and answers. So just a quick introduction about me. I'm originally from Mexico. I studied in Tec de Monterrey back in Mexico, and then here in Australia in Monash Business School, master's in finance and data analytics. And as well, I'm Lean Six Sigma Green Belt, and I did a couple of courses on Tableau, Alteryx, Python, and so on. I have worked previously in GE, then in Switzerland in the World Trade Organization, and then now in Kraft Heinz. And at the same time, I have my own side project called the Financial Fox. Just a little bit about me, as I was saying, like I'm originally from Mexico. I went to live in France before, then Switzerland, and now obviously Australia. And then the tools that I use normally every day is like R, Python, Tableau, Excel, and a bit of Alteryx. Just the last bit, a little bit about the Financial Fox. So it's basically a place where finance meet data analytics. I'm trying to democratize the access to financial analytics and machine learning through courses, mentorships, interviews, and career advice. And basically, I have a free program to learn about machine learning. So if you are interested in applying, just ask me about it after the presentation, or just message me on LinkedIn, and then I will tell you about it. Now, in terms of the presentation, the first bit is why should we use data analytics in FMCG? In here on the screen, what I have, it's basically the before and after of automation and data analytics. So for example, before, just like in FMCG in 2019, I used to arrive at the office, maybe sometimes run a bit late, run to get a coffee, go to my place, go to my desk, and try to like open all of my Excels, of my PowerPoints. That took me around like 10 to 20 minutes to open everything. Then I used to work on those basically like files all the way until like 7 p.m. Almost whenever I'm like done with the analysis, that happened. Microsoft Excel has stopped working. It's a nightmare. Then I realized that I had to pull an all-nighter again and stay all the way to 2 a.m., 3 a.m., 4 a.m., something like that. If we fast forward to 2021, obviously with COVID, sometimes we wear masks, depending on where in the world we are, but we most likely work from home, some of us. So we can have a good like lunch, for example, sorry, breakfast or something, and then a lot of our files are already in the cloud, either in Tableau, in Alteryx, somewhere. Then we can actually use the time to do like business partnering, to actually use the time to basically like, spend the time with loved ones after 5 p.m. And then at night, all of our like either RPAs or like robotic process automation or like little things in Tableau prep, in Alteryx, somewhere, they are working for us in order to prepare the dashboards for tomorrow. I just put this slide afterward because I do think like without all of these like data and visualizations, you are just a person with an opinion. So if we try to introduce the topic of storytelling with data, I always say that people hear statistics, people hear numbers, but they actually feel stories. So you actually need to learn how to do storytelling with data. One of the best ways to do it is through data visualization. And why not to use tools like Tableau to basically create these visual representations of data. Now, if we try to understand which types of data visualizations we can create, I have these in a few slides. And by the way, if you want the slides, just message me through LinkedIn and I can send you the slides. I have like, you can type like distribution, ranking, maps in Tableau is very easy to show a flow. You can show the part of a whole through all of these different like types of database or evolution as well. Also, you can show like correlation through basically like a heat map or like a scatter plot, Kraft, something like that. There are many resources on how to do it. Again, I put here like just some of the resources if you're like interested on them. And I just want to have a couple of minutes to basically talk about these like tips for data visualization. So the first one is like what makes a good data visualization. I always say that it has to be informative, but at the same time, it has to tell a story, like a concept. It has to have like a function or a goal, but it also have to have a visual form or like a metaphor. Now, whenever you are creating this like data visualization, a lot of times we put a lot of KPIs, like in the meme in the right, but we don't really understand them. So in this stage, sometimes less is more. Now, the second part of my presentation, I'll be talking about how do we use data analytics and basically data visualization. So just in a high level overview, there are some articles online about basically how Kraft Heinz uses data visualization. The first one from Forbes, it says that Kraft Heinz company delivers a taste of the future with a transformational data hub. So basically we have different hubs around the world in which we use like data scientists, finance people, marketing people, HR, everyone to basically transform our company. Now, we don't do it alone. We try to partner with different companies, for example, like Tableau or IBM through the garage or Snowflake in order to actually use like the visualization and data analytics. The two main ways that we use data analytics is through making the data more accessible. And the second one is to educating our people on storytelling with data. On the first one, how do we actually make data more accessible? Well, the old process is that we have all of these numbers, all of this data in an Excel, in a spreadsheet, in some pieces of paper, PDFs, something, somewhere in the world. Now, if we want to actually make sense of this data, then it's a frustrating process. It takes a lot of time. So this process, we can review it monthly, or maybe every 2 months or every year. Now, if we actually use Tableau, the analytics, the visualization, then we can actually perform all of this process almost every day, every hour, every minute. The idea that we have is to decentralize financial information and basically all data, and then empower our people all around the world to make better decisions, data-driven decisions. Now, we actually want to also to automate all of the processes and then spend less time consolidating numbers and more time actually analyzing those numbers, looking for areas of opportunity. At the same time, we try to create a better experience using, for example, Tableau to track different KPIs around the world. Now, some of the improvements obviously are through dashboards, but at the same time, we use this functionality of Ask Data. Now, in Ask Data in Tableau, basically you can put all the data in there, and it uses different like machine learning algorithms to actually answer your questions around the data. This way, people don't actually need data scientists or data analysts every day to answer different questions, but it's like a self-service thing. So they can actually use Tableau, and actually ask the data for the answers. Now, having said that, there's a lot of work behind the scenes in order to actually put all of the data in place in order to use this function. Now, the second one that I want to talk about is about educating our people in data analytics. We made this partnership with a company called Data Coach that basically made up a course that, I don't know, like 100 people around the world went in it and tried to learn how to use Tableau. It was divided in bronze, silver, and gold, so like in 3 stages. And then people started to learn how to use Tableau. Now, the following year, instead of 100, they selected 1,000 people, then 10,000, and so on. The idea is that everyone in the organization is savvy in tools like Tableau and Alteryx in order to actually use data analytics and make data-driven decisions. Now, one of the other things that I want to say, it's a lot of times when I'm making like these presentations, there are a lot of people that are like trying to seek a job in data analytics on data visualization. So just like a bonus tip, if you're actually trying to look for a job in this function, basically you can follow this process. It has 4 steps. The first one is go to this website called Kaggle and then find a data set and a problem. Then in there, they tell you exactly what to do because other people have done it before. So you can follow that process and try to establish yourself with a deadline. Then build your own Tableau dashboards and get key insights from them. And at the end, try to post it on LinkedIn, just to show the world and basically your contacts how you perform this task. Now, the second tip that I have for you guys, it's other type of resources on data visualizations. These 2 are 2 of my favorite books about like data visualizations. And also you can have this analyst learn path through Tableau to basically learn how to do analysis, to be an analyst. At the same time, you can do many of these courses through either like Coursera, Future Learn, General Assembly, EDX, about data visualization. I actually remember that 6 years ago, my first basically encounter with Tableau was through this 1-day course on GA back in Melbourne about data visualization in Tableau. So they're really, really good. So now I just want to open the floor for like Q&A, and then I hope you would like the presentation. Thank you.
Christian. Can you hear me? Without data, you're just another person with an opinion. I'm wondering if anyone knows who. It's a very valid, very good quote. I just thought it'd be interesting if anyone knows it. Statistician in terms of
no more question? Quick clap for Christian. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for the chat. The talk was amazing. Kelly, you want to talk next, please? So yeah, people online, just put your question in the chat if it's something that's intriguing you. Look at the floor.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Kelly. I'm the Head of Technology and Data at Netball, Queensland. Okay. Firstly, I thought I'd go through my Tableau story and where I started and where I've got to now. Then I'll talk a little bit about where I'm working now and how that industry is a little bit different to where I've worked previously. Possibly go through the technology like all of our architecture, just at a simple glance, and then I'll get stuck into some of the visualizations. I've just picked one small component of what we do. Okay, so these are the places that I've used Tableau. So I've been in the industry for about 20 years. Previously, you know, way back when we had crystal reports, and now got thrown in about 6 years ago, thrown in the deep end with Tableau at Oniqua. So they're a inventory optimization company. They work with all the major mining and those sorts of companies. That solution was starting at the very, I guess, the most complex end with an embedded Tableau solution into our web app. So that was a little bit different because I'm not sure that anybody else around Australia was doing it at that time. So that was a big learning curve for me. One, not used Tableau before, but two, how to do that. Along that way, so that's where I met Dave during that time. I had dabbled in the Makeover Mondays, so if anybody hasn't done that, get onto that. They're quite fun. And I've also done some Viz for Social Good, which, yeah, I've done some work with Fred over here, but haven't really had a lot of time to delve into that. About a year and a half ago, I went to HTW, and that was using Tableau server. So directly publishing to the server and using data extracts. So that was with a GCP or Google backend, using streaming into BigQuery and then connecting Tableau directly to that. So that was an interesting way of doing things, and you know, consumed by people around Australia within the business. So since then, I moved into my passion. So netball's my passion outside of work. In the community, I coach and whatnot. When this role became available, I jumped out of it and basically told them they needed me. So I wanted to work there. So Netball Queensland, it's a not-for-profit organisation. So they've been around for about 50 years, and you know what that translates to is there's not a lot of money for investment, and particularly when I started, there wasn't. You know, there's a lot of systems, obviously disparate systems, and you know, from there, there's not a lot of money to invest in the technology. We're starting to get to that point, and there's all different parts. I don't know if you've heard of the Firebirds and netball around, but if you haven't, go watch a game. Yeah, so these are all the different business units within the business, and I sit under business services. And I've now grown our team to 2. So there's one more person that helps me. I won't bother about going through our strategy, but basically this is our ecosystem, and these are all the different underlying systems of our business. So we not only have, you know, with Firebirds, it's you know, national sport. So, you know, we have a lot of like memberships and ticketing and things to consider there, but we also run a venue. So Nissan Arena, that's our venue, and we hold a lot of community sport and other events there. So there's a lot of data in that area. And then we have our community netball on weekends. There's about 50,000 players that play netball, and there's a lot of, I guess, insights to gain from that and how we measure how we're tracking as a business. And then obviously our internal systems and whatnot. So the main difference in this particular workplace is we actually don't have a central data platform. So everything right now, which is why I've got that highlighted, because this is our future state and I'm working on that in the next 6 months. So I've started reviewing some, you know, being not-for-profit, you know, there's some solutions out there, just reviewing those and trying to bring in a data platform to put all of our data. So everything is done manually into Excel. So yeah, maybe a little bit of a shudder there, but at the moment, just so we can have that one point of truth, I'm the custodian of that data, and that's where the reporting comes from. So basically, this is the process. We extract from whatever source system. We need the data, we collate it. I actually create it in Tableau Public, so don't actually have a desktop license there, and then I publish it, but I make it hidden in Tableau. And then I download the workbook, and then I publish that into SharePoint for our people to consume. Not sure, yeah, it's quite big on there, so that's good. Just some of the parts of the business that we analyse. So obviously memberships and ticketing is a big one, so that tells us how we're going for Firebirds games and you know, that kind of thing in our customer journey. So when somebody you know, buys a ticket, what do we follow up with, that kind of thing. Our social analytics, how we're going on our social media. Internally, our financials, our internal OKRs or KPIs, how we're tracking across the business. Participation, which is what I'll kind of touch on today, and what that means, and why that's important out in our community. System analytics, so on all our different systems and how that's tracking, like usage and things like that. And obviously venue analytics, so who's visiting the venue, when, what kind of visit are they doing? Are they participating in any kind of, you know, sport at the venue? And then that can drive, I guess, different things that we offer, or what people would like to see or would like to do at the venue. And we also hold a lot of school graduations, so, you know, revenue from those types of events coming in. So participation, so we have what we call a member out in the community. So if you register to play netball, so you have a child or yourself, you registered to play social netball, or your child's playing netball on the weekend or through the week, that person registers, they're counted once as a member. They can register multiple times, so they may be registering to play club netball on a Saturday, but also social netball, or they've joined a clinic or a program. That's called participation. So if I'm registered in 3 separate competitions, that I'm counted 3 times as participation. So members that can be made up of players, we've got our coaching base, our umpires, and also our non-playing members like committee members, etc., that kind of thing. And we extend all around regional Australia, so everyone's everywhere. We have 80 separate places of play, and then a number of kids at those different places, ranging from large, you know, organisations where they've got 4,000 players coming to play every Saturday, right through to our small organisations, and everybody needs to be serviced the same. So members are singular in that they pay us once only. So once they've paid their membership with us, then they can play. They can continue to play in any competition. They're covered by insurance, etc. And they're eligible to participate in everything right through the pathways. So we have a pathway for talent, you know, identification, and they've moved up the different levels of netball. Oh, there you go. I've just said what I wanted to say there. But some reasons why we measure, I've just pulled some out. Obviously revenue. So this is an indicator of our success and how we're tracking year on year, or even the same time this year compared to last year. That made it very difficult last year in a COVID year when all sport was stopped. So we had taken a number of registrations and money from people. And then at that time it was, you know, are we going to continue? Are we going to be allowed to play sport? You know, is sport going to go ahead? And eventually, thankfully, it did. And all of those kids were very excited. Supply versus demand. So if we have a high participation rate in particular areas, but there's not enough competitions or programs there, we can start to look at those areas and offer different programs and possibly boost competitions and help those people running competitions do that. Also infrastructure, so if there's high participation in an area that needs an upgrade, that can help determine that. We do have to report to government, the sport and recreation, on our participation numbers. That's a legal requirement from us. And also very important for us is grants eligibility. So having sort of tracking the number of people that are participating in sport, you know, can enable us to receive different grants, which obviously helps us being not-for-profit. So jumping right into some now, obviously these are static, you know, and there's, oh, it's very bright, sorry guys. But, you know, I can't quite share the detail, obviously for privacy reasons. But, you know, looking at last year, our participation across the board, and then we break that down into the different areas, obviously in beautiful Netball Queensland purple colours. So very true to the business, sort of set that up, you know, in how each dashboard looks. And then we do, you know, participation at the same date year on year. Clearly, in COVID year, we were down numbers compared to the year before. So when we come to this year, when we're fully operational, we're actually tracking against 2019 numbers. We've got 2020 there as a blip, but we know that obviously, you know, a lot of people were a little bit hesitant coming back. So that's the main sort of a management dashboard that I provide as a high overview. We do split these numbers down into those particular areas, those different 80 areas where people play netball, and particularly for those people running those competitions. So they're aware how they're tracking, you know, if they're ahead or behind same time last year. Okay, so again, we can break that down into our different demographic areas and age groups. So as you can see here, a lot of our, you know, like the years, we have the 11 to 15s, that's a very high rate there. This can help us determine, you know, if we wanted to create a new product or type of competition, you know, it will help us target different sort of age brackets. So at the moment, we've got a high saturation in that area. We also break it down into gender. We don't capture a lot of I know there are a lot of male netballers, but we don't capture a lot of it within our system. So that's something that we need to do, but so we can start offering more competitions for those guys. And also we have for our, I guess, we have walking netball, so aimed more at the elderly age bracket. So this is our spatial distribution, just to see where everybody lands. It's just a simple geo where based on postcode, where we can break that down. We have our different areas, which we call biomes, and then we can go right through down to the organisation. This was an interesting project that I did, obviously based in the same format, but some of these we provide to government for different projects. So this was for the cultural and language, the diverse participants. So there was a particular project based on Asian immersion, and that the government were asking for information from us around, you know, people who identify as speaking an Asian language, and then how we can boost numbers for that area. Another quite interesting project that I did and that I was quite proud of was the Indigenous participation. These next couple of slides have helped drive. We've got a program called Diamond Spirit, where we educate, empower Indigenous populations in our regional areas. And as you can see here, there's a high population up in northern Queensland. That's very common, but obviously being regional, we want to make you know, our programs and you know, that support available to those girls and boys in that area. So this actually was used for government to extend that program. So we get a grant from the government. So this is one that I was actually quite proud of. And then just through our organisations, I've just hidden the organisation name there, but and obviously there's an anomaly there where they only had one, but they've only got one participant. But just to show you, you know, where our population lies. I'll just talk a little bit about our pathways just prior to the last slide there, in that, so we start down at community, where you'll come and, you know, if you're like 7 years old, you can come and play netball, etc. Then you might go on to play representative netball, and then you might then go and represent your region, and then you may get selected in a state team, and then you might get selected in a national team. And we have a few different national teams there. We've got the Firebirds, which is at that utmost top level. The one underneath is the Queensland Sapphires. It's sort of the next level down. And then we have our Maori Little Shield, the Queensland Gems, is for our inclusive team. And they play in a competition every year. So it's a great thing. So how does the Indigenous participants in those pathways look? Our line there that we measure against is the actual population line in Australia, the average there. So we're actually faring above that line. But what we can see here is where there's a drop off from that regional representation into state. So there's barriers there, and that's helped us, yeah, sort of recognise, okay, we need a lot of work to do in that area. Okay, that's a little bit about Diamond Spirit. If anybody wants to read the questions. Any questions?
Any questions online? I love the colors. I love the pastel colors. It's amazing.
Yes.
I mean, it works well with the map as well. You probably use Mapbox. Yeah,
So,
it's beautiful.
Yeah, so if you want to get in touch with me, there's my details. So I'm sure that will be.
Sort of a question, Kelly. I found it fascinating. It looked like the under 15-year-olds increased last year, where everyone else dropped.
Yeah, it's quite an interesting area because you know, if you're comparing to last year, I know there's a lot of parents out there that were a little bit hesitant in bringing their little ones back, whereas the older ones have a bit more say in what they want to do. And it's generally an area in sport that we've found where kids do drop off. Is in that sort of mid to late teens because they all have jobs. They're in, you know, high school, like doing their senior year or whatnot. So we do tend to lose kids at that age group, and there's a project, you know, we're wanting to work on how do we retain those kids. So that's the next part of the analytics for me, is to bring in the government data and see the populations in those areas and what's the growth potential versus the retention that we're doing. Yeah.
Did you also notice North Brisbane versus South Brisbane? There's a difference in the retention.
Thanks, Dave. Just curious if the participants themselves have access to the visualizations that you guys put out?
No, it's only internal to our business to help our business help others. So it would be great pie in the sky to be able to make these available so that our people who are running competitions, I think, would benefit from it to enable them to do their own analysis on how their business or how their organisation is going and how they can drive their own numbers. So yes, I'd like to get there, but I need a data platform.
Myself in the shoes of a participant,
Yep.
You know, thought, hey, how interesting it could be if I could sort of see how my team's doing, you know,
Yeah,
how
so
they're faring against other teams. And
we've actually got a system. We've actually got a system that does that. Our registration and competition
Nice.
management system that they can get into. It's on an app, and yeah, they see their every week where are we on the ladder, and you know, how am I going, and that's probably a whole other talk for another day. But I'm not sure that relates to Tableau. But yeah.
thank you.
No worries.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Yeah, for people in the room, we've got pizza and drinks. So sorry for our friends online. You can't get pizzas. You have to come here next time. So next presenter would be the amazing Wilter. So Wilter is a data analyst from Data, and I think I had a quick look at your slide. You're going to be talking about data and IoT, Internet of Things. I think that's amazing. So good luck.
I'll just get a website up.
Oh yeah, so you want to bring up the web.
No one's going to pop out for some pizza?
Page, you want to bring it up?
Yep, I'll just type in this one. That's okay?
Yeah, let's go.
Perfect. Thanks, Fred. Frederic? Fred works here?
hold it.
Yes.
Ta-da, suspense. Everybody's watching you.
That's all right.
Sorry, bear with us a second. Wilter is logging into his website. That's live demo. You good? You find it?
This will be important. It's a bit of a surprise bonus in there, so I want to see if I can get it in. There we go. Thanks, Frederic. Appreciate it. So good evening, everybody. Nice. A couple of people pop in there. So we're kicking off. We're kicking off.
Yeah, it is.
Almost, isn't it? Just waiting a little bit for anyone else who wants to come in the room, or we get to go. Good to go? So I've really enjoyed listening to some of the presentations we've had so far, and I found it very interesting listening to Kelly discuss how Tableau's visualizations has been used to be able to empower business decisions within the non-for-profit organization. So that's really something I find quite cool. And I certainly also enjoyed Christian's talk. And tonight it is my pleasure to take everyone here through our journey at Key Data of Tableau's embedded analytics and the Internet of Things, which is something that's been booming recently. So by way of a quick overview, we will start off by asking ourselves, what is, and followed by the why of embedded analytics, and specifically as it relates to the Internet of Things. Then we're going to get more practical by diving into one of the ways that we have used embedded analytics at Key Data, plus a little bonus out there for you guys. Then just another thing, if you're looking here at embedded analytics here on the screen, and you're hoping to see some of the coding behind the embedded visualizations, then whilst it won't be covered in this particular presentation, I will be pointing us to some great resources where it is covered. And I might say that it's interesting. I heard Kelly mention some embedded dashboards in 2 of the places where she's worked, so quite relevant to that. So let's get right into it. What is embedded analytics? So by way of a quick formal definition, embedded analytics refers to the integration of self-service tools such as Tableau into non-BI applications. Now, most of us are familiar with at least one of these examples of embedded analytics, whether it is Tableau's integration into Salesforce, a CRM platform, the embedded visualizations within Track and Axe portal, a web portal, or perhaps even applications such as Apple's Health app, presumably, unless obviously they coded the visualization directly into the app. Okay, now what do all of these have in common? Well, they provide an answer to this key question. We love the power of interactive visualizations, and we enjoy the ability to customize our own external applications. But how can we get the best of both worlds without requiring our users to continually jump between the 2 platforms? In other words, how can we integrate Tableau's analytical capabilities with our own business process so that the 2 become one? Well, you guessed it. The answer is, of course, embedded analytics. Or as others have put it, analytics when and where you need it. So let's just have a look at a couple of the key benefits of embedded analytics. Firstly, it allows for self-service. It enables your visualizations to your external platform to be self-service, drag and drop, right? Which means a no-code solution embedded directly into an application that your customers are already familiar with. So that's quite nice. Then it is secure. It uses a trusted link between your external application and Tableau, where users are automatically authenticated using your external platform's authentication layer and allowing access to the specific user's data and analytics. Thirdly, it takes advantage of the fact that Tableau visualizations are quick and iterative with a short path to development, which means that these analytics can go to market in a matter of days or hours instead of weeks, which it would have been in the case of a longer development. Fourthly, it differentiates you from the rest and drives engagement and thus additional revenue from your existing products, which is of course something we are all looking for. So how does this relate to the Internet of Things? I'm sure that many of us are familiar with the booming world of Internet of Things devices, such as my exercise watch here, Apple Watch, or my online irrigation system at home. And or if you're like me and can't keep track of your car keys, then these mini trackers have come in quite handy for myself. And of course, there are many, many more. But regardless of the type of device, we need some way to be able to configure the device and view the data, which, as you can imagine, is a perfect use case for Tableau's embedded analytics. Why? Well, unless we want to physically configure the device by pressing the button on it, we probably need some sort of external application or platform where users can come and configure their device's settings. And of course, the data that the device produces, with perhaps a bit of cleansing, is something that the Tableau products we're already familiar with can deal with quite easily. So we have these two working pieces, but we are sitting with the problem that we mentioned earlier. Pretty soon, users are going to become frustrated to constantly be jumping between the configuration within the external platform and a Tableau server or Tableau online. So what's our answer? Embedded analytics, of course. That's right. And this is how we approached it. Let's paint the picture. Our goal was to take data from sophisticated tracking devices, tracking temperature, location, among other things, and to make this data available for use within the pharmaceutical industry. So where would we need to know about temperature in a pharmacy, I hear you asking? Well, one example is vaccines that need to remain at a particular temperature to be viable. So the vaccines are in fridges and the fridges in stores. Store managers need to be able to go into our platform and assign particular trackers with ideally need to be able to see all the data that they need within the same platform. Let's have a look at what this looks like. So if I'm a store manager, I want to configure my device and I want to see the data for that device. I go to the Track and Act website and log in there in the top right. And then after logging in the portal itself, we enter this relatively simple portal with two tabs. One to manage their trackers, fridges or stores, and the one we are more interested in, a tab that contains their data in the form of an embedded Tableau dashboard that looks like that. I then, as the store manager, will be able to see all the data and alerts pertaining to my store and am able to act on it. In this case, fridge 3 had 2 temperature spikes, which may mean that the vaccines held in the fridge during those spike times may no longer be viable. Then one more note to add here is that whilst our portal is quite simple in that it only has 2 tabs and no customized buttons, interacting with the dashboard, there is plenty of customization that can be done, that's possible within Tableau's embedded analytics. And I'll just show you an example. Here we have an image from the 2019 Tableau conference, where we can see a very basic example of some custom buttons that have been added using the Tableau's JavaScript API. We have a reset filters button, which does what you expect, resets the filters on the dashboard. We've got two export buttons, PDF and CSV, similar to Tableau server or online. And then we have this edit button, which actually allows the user to go in and edit the dashboard that's been embedded, just as they would have been able to do in Tableau server or Tableau online or Tableau public, for that matter, provided they have the appropriate license. Now, for that bonus we mentioned earlier, I'll see if this website works, and we still have enough time, so that's good. I'll be going through a live demo of another great use case for embedded analytics, which, whilst having similar underlying tech, has a completely different use case for a different analytical use case. So I'll just page over to this one here, and let's see if we can get in. So bear with us here. Beautiful. So while that's loading, you will notice that we do not actually need to log into Tableau server here at all. Where, and that is where this dashboard is posted. Because of that secure link. Oh. Which screen's coming up on Zoom? We'll just get the Zoom sorted so you guys can also see. Oh, okay. I think it's because I'm on full screen on the PowerPoint, so I might just have to unfull screen and then. Bear with us here. It's worth seeing, so it's worth a quick pause to get that up.
Yeah, that's on doing now.
Thanks, Fred. You're the technician.
See the thing is spinning like crazy.
It's thinking.
Hopefully it crashed it.
Oh no. Hopefully the Zoom's not crashed.
Screen.
There you go. How's that? Can we see that online? Beautiful. Sorry guys, thank you so much for that. So we have here the dashboard, and like I said, it skipped completely that authentication step, which is quite nice. And here we are stepping into the bustling world of agricultural exports and monitoring, where a shipment often exchanges hands from one service provider to another. And thus the responsibility and risk also passes from one entity to another. Now, with this dashboard embedded in the portal, each entity is able to work together with the farmer to streamline the business process and make use of Tableau's fantastic visualizations all in one place. And I'm going to show everyone that we can still, with embedded dashboards, filter and see tooltips and then follow drill downs. I'll just scroll down, minimize it. Let's see if we can, do you mind if I play with your browser and just minimize? There we go. Even a bit more. 75%. There you go. Hopefully that's not too small to read. So there we are. And as you would expect, a lot of the same functionality, as I mentioned, works for us. And let's just say I'm in charge of down here at the bottom. Don't know if we can see the mouse, the cursor, but I'm in charge of this leg of the journey, which corresponds to our temperature graph. Then me as the responsible person for that leg, I'm able to look at the temperature spike that we have in that dashboard and make a decision based on that, which perhaps in this case might just be investigating, seeing what's happening and closing a door, for example. Then let's see if I can go back to the PowerPoint. And This one. There we go. Oh, great. So that's all good. So there we go. That's a bit of a bonus, and hopefully that was interesting to look at, and a great live view of embedded dashboards. And so let's do a quick recap. We have seen that Tableau's embedded analytics is able to eloquently bridge the gap between external platforms and the visualizations that the user wants to see. It does this by bringing the viz straight into the external application or platform. We also had a quick look at one of the ways that we have been able to take advantage of Tableau's embedded analytic capabilities within the pharmaceutical industry, and have seen it in action by diving straight into the benefits for the production line in the agricultural sector. This by no means has been a deep dive into Tableau's embedded analytics, but hopefully it's a taste tester that will help motivate you guys to explore this a bit further. And if it has done so, then there are a couple great resources which you might want to make use of. Firstly, there's checking out the pricing of embedded analytics, which is slightly separate. There's a great white paper that will help you decide whether or not to take the next step of embedding your BI. And then there's my favorite here, the embedded playbook, which is sort of like a step-by-step solution to work with the APIs and develop that. And then there are a few others there as well that you can take a picture of. Hopefully I got all the links there. Great, and I think we still have time for questions. So we'll open up the floor for any questions if there are any. Yes. Just passing on the microphone.
Well, can you hear me?
Yes.
So you mentioned that the embedded analytics work for external platforms and websites. Does it work for pretty much any platform website out there, or it also needs like API, or what are the main features that you need?
Yeah, that's a great question. So is Tableau's embedded analytics relevant to all sorts of platforms, websites, and how does it relate to the APIs? Yeah, so Tableau actually provides several different ways of embedding those, your visualizations. And it caters for basically any place where you can embed code into HTML, for example. So it's quite versatile. And I would point you to, if you want to have a deeper look into that, point you to the Tableau embedded playbook, which goes into more detail of those APIs. There's a simple way that most people use for Tableau Public, for example, which is just embedding the embed code. So copy paste, and then the JavaScript API, which allows for more functionality. Sorry, I don't know if the microphone quite came through, couldn't quite hear.
Is it a paid feature or is it free? Like,
yes.
Tableau's embedded analytics is paid. Ooh, and I think my microphone's off now. Yes, I think it's the short answer. Oh, yeah. So, yeah. So actually, that's a good point.
Thank you so much. So the public dashboards, I believe you can actually embed, and Dave, correct me if I'm wrong, but as long as you don't need an authentication layer, you can embed public.
We can embed public, we can embed proper dashboards as well with authentication. Oh, sorry. Your question on the pricing, it is different pricing than regular Tableau. It's not free, but and I'd suggest get in touch if you've got a use case, because it's not always the same either. I can't really give you one price and say that's exactly what you'll be paying, because depending on whether you're a not-for-profit and other things, it can also have an impact. But it is cheaper than the shelf price. In terms of APIs, I forget the number, but there's something like 13 or 14 different types of APIs. So there's quite a lot that can be done. It's very flexible, and it's probably the area I'm seeing the growth in functionality and capabilities being fastest for things. There's a real push on to get this stuff going. So it's just part of the business as usual. I think strategically they're trying to change things over so that Tableau becomes exactly what Wilter was saying. It becomes embedded in the processes, so that instead of having to go over here for what shape are we in and then go over here to take an action as a result, get it so it's all happening together.
Yes.
That's working. Yes, so there we go. We just have a demo dashboard there, and we've got 2 fridges and 1 hub. Oh, okay. 2 fridges and 1 hub, and yeah, we can see that fridge 3 there has an alert there on the status, just notifying us that something's gone wrong with the temperature. We should probably check that out, which in this case, unfortunately with the vaccines, might mean we need to throw them out. So hopefully not. Is that good? Great, no worries. Any other questions? Yes.
You mentioned that it has more than 5 types of APIs. So I was saying that we're going to be, the APIs will allow us to have the same functionality as Tableau. For example, if I want to create a dashboard and include a field calculation, I'll be able to do this in my website and I present it.
Yes. It depends on the council.
So I'll just hit the mark to, I don't know if this is still on. So
I think the microphone might be off. Can you hear me?
Sorry, as the mic is starting to die. Yes, it's essentially the flexibility is there, so you can work out what you want to enable within that, and what you don't want to enable doesn't get enabled, but it's got close to the same capabilities, and in some cases the APIs expose up things that aren't available in the native platform. For example, there's one called the metadata API, and you can use that to go and get a data dictionary and that. So this is where we get it. Apologies, Carolyn, if I'm making this. What they're trying is sometimes have a web portal with their database to select people that are in it. There's a bit of use case that can be used. They're really they're looking at how large numbers to do this. It doesn't look like it's that.
I think there's a microphone there if you wanted to chat.
More or less.
You're good? Sorry, but I think we've got some issues with the microphone. I don't know if people online can hear us. I just wanted to say thanks to Wilter. I think that was an amazing presentation. If you have further questions, people online, so So I think we're about to wrap up. I asked a couple of slides, but it looks like my PC is actually frozen as well, which doesn't help. So I think the gods of technologies. Let me check. I think the PowerPoint is frozen up. There we go, maybe. Going back. I think I just. Oh no, I think that's finished. So I just wanted to say thank you very much for everyone coming online and people at the precinct in Brisbane. I also wanted to reiterate that if you want to come and talk at the Brisbane Talk, whether it's in person or online, please join us, and then I'll see you next time. Thanks everyone for coming. Thank you very much. Bye. Thanks a lot.